calling Patrick Mahomes, taking out Aikman's touchdown record 4 years into his career.
Yeah, a little awkward. 4 years into your career, you get passed, and you got to call it.
Emmitt Smith like the plain pancakes.
Emmitt Smith like the plain pancake.
When we come back on the show.
Plain pancakes suck.
You think?
It's just...
With good butter and good batter and good syrup, I think they're delicious.
But you just described you really need good butter and good syrup. A pancake in itself, laying there plain, is very boring. If you have a good blueberry or chocolate chip or some kind of funfetti pancake, you don't need the syrup. You don't need the syrup.
Why do you need all this hoopla with anything you eat? Why can't you just have a pancake with butter and syrup?
Butter and syrup is hoopla. It is hoopla.
It's not hoopla. You're saying funfetti, you need chocolate chips.
Because then I don't need the butter and syrup.
Whipped cream, you need bananas, everything. You just need
I didn't say
the
whipped cream.
Butter and the syrup and the pancake. And a good batter.
Butter and syrup is hoopla. You guys can move the goalposts all you want.
I don't know. Is butter and syrup hoopla?
Well, if I'm telling you that you can eat other pancakes without butter and syrup and it has other stuff in it, how is that hoopla? What I'm telling you is the plain
butter and
pancake.
syrup have gone with pancakes for 150 years.
Tradition.
It's traditional, yeah.
Oh, BS. They didn't have syrup 150 years ago.
Of course they did.
You think the cavemen were pouring Vermont maple on it?
Number one, do you think cavemen were 150 years ago? Number two, maple syrup just comes out of a tree. How hard do you think that was?
DA, you don't take a drill through a tree and then there comes maple syrup. It's got to be made and churned and mixed.
Made and churned and mixed. What, you boil off whatever the sap
Bark?
is. You boil off the sap, you get your syrup, you heat it up, and you put it on pancakes. You put it over your stove.
There is zero shot my great-great-grandmother was eating syrup on her pancakes.
Okay.
First of all, we didn't even have hot griddles to make pancakes.
What do you mean we didn't have hot griddle? What do you think? Your
You had, like,
your
open
dad was the
fire.
first guy with heat?
No, but those flat tops, they didn't have them.
What do you think? How do you think people cooked?
Over open fires, like campfires.
Yeah.
And coal ovens.
In their house.
You weren't making a pancake in a coal oven.
I
bet you the first pancake was like 1930 tops.
You think the first pancake was 1930? Okay, we're going to look at this after the break.
Show me the flat top when on the Titanic, please.
On the Titanic.
Everything was open flame.
Everything's always the Titanic with you, too. Can there be another point of reference in history?
Why do you think we were only doing hot dogs at baseball games and now we can make cheesesteaks? Because the flat tops didn't exist.
Let me ask you, how do you think farmers ate eggs in the 1800s?
Yeah, that's a good question. They had to put them in something over a campfire.
Why does it have to be a campfire? They had fires in their houses. They had fires in their kitchens.
So not a campfire, a fire in their house, a contained fire in their house. So they probably had some kind of cast iron pan, but think about what are you going to do, one pancake at a time?
Well,
Bogish has come racing into the studio like Usain Bolt.
You guys are all alive. You all know.
This. If you Google pancake history, the first entry that comes up was the first mention of a pancake-like thing was 600 BC.
Before Christ? We were flipping flapjacks before Christ?
I mean, think about how basic it is. You have a hot stove, oven, fire, whatever. You have some type of cast iron skillet, which has been around for hundreds of years, and you put some dough in there. You put some wheat,
some dough?
Well, how do you think they made bread? Pancake is just bread.
Which brings back to my point that it's boring. If you're calling a pancake just bread...
Don't change this.
Then that's
We've been
boring.
making bread for thousands of years.
Yeah, and we put stuff on it. If a pancake's just bread, then that proves my point.
But
you need
we're making pancakes prior to 1930, bud.
Yeah. So what was in the mix then? Because right now you need to crack an egg, do the powder. I got the Pearl Milling Company.
Yeah.
What were you doing?
It's just bread
600
dough.
BC. What were they pouring in there?
It's just bread dough.
And they had a whisk?
They didn't need a whisk.
So they just put dough on a pan and called it a pancake.
They would cook some type of wheat-based batter.
Yeah.
It's wheat and egg and milk, which we've had for thousands of years.
And to call it a pancake signifies that there was regular cake. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a pancake. So we were blowing out the candles in 600 BC, too? We had cake?
We definitely had cake well before 1930. Yeah. Haven't you ever heard of the Queen of England saying, or Queen of France saying, let them eat their cake, have the cake and eat it too?
All right.
I mean,
I think it's a little off on the pancake
Let's
stuff.
go back to something here, though. When do you think the cavemen were around?
They were definitely in the BC, so that would prove my point. I don't think the cavemen were making it.
You think cavemen were in the BC? So what BC?
Well, I don't know. Those years blend together.
They do blend together.
All millions of them.
I don't know. Any year BC. I mean, they're all the same year at that
When do you
point.
think cavemen generally were?
700 BC? What do you mean? When do you think they were after? Were they AC?
Do you think
Oh my
Jesus
God.
came before cavemen?
Oh my God, Mraz just said AC.
We're all in AC now, right?
We're in
this is
AC. Yeah, this is
2022 AC. Technically, we got rid of the AC. There was BC, and clearly there had to be an AC because there's before and there's after. We just don't reference the AC. We're 2022 AC now.
AD. AD. AD.
So Neanderthals are the technical name for
Yeah, 700
For cavemen.
BC.
40,000 years ago.
Yeah, 700 BC.
You know, I would have taken the earlier answer over this answer, where the cavemen were around in the 1850s.
Cavemen.
And nobody had heat in the 1800s. Nobody had a stove
No,
for
you
batter
did. You
or a
did. You didn't
skillet
have a
to make
flat
an
top.
egg at the turn of the century.
So if they were making pancakes, it's one at a time. How you feeding your family with a cast iron?
How did that become the logic of when they invented pancakes? You'd have to wait, big boy.
Right.
You'd have to wait for your pancake.
So
Well, you
600
can't, but-
BC, they were dumping maple syrup on one pancake at a time.
I don't
Get
know if they
lost
were-
with that take. Get lost.
That was the other thing. If you
Get lost with what take?
That we've had
Your-
syrup forever
your
on
series
pancakes.
of takes have been absolutely
That take
punched
is
holes in
garbage to
every
assume
one
everybody's
of them.
just. So we're
Every-
squirting syrup on one pancake at a time.
It doesn't have to be in a log cabin plastic container to be syrup.
Yeah.
You just have to drill a hole into a maple tree and have the stuff come out, and then you boil off the sap.
Oh, so we're taking the cast iron with the one pancake with takes at a time, and we're sticking it under a drilled tree, bringing it back to the table, then making another pancake, coming back to the tree, and having the sap leak out.
Well, you could actually do
That
this
seems
in
inconvenient.
separate exercises. You can draw the syrup out of the tree prior to the moment you're cooking your pancake.
and
Who
the
had
maple
time for that?
The ma-
Not all
them.
the time in the
Everybody,
world.
they didn't watch football like you. They didn't play video games like you.
They didn't have on TV. There was
had to
no
put-
Florida Bama
They
shore
spent
to
8
watch.
hours drilling syrup to eat one pancake.
They weren't putting the cover on the pool.
That was my other laugh out loud moment. How do you get sap out of a tree? Google that. It's literally a 4-step
Exactly.
process. Drill a hole, get it out, boil it, eat it.
And they didn't have electric to drill the hole. Were they hitting a rock? Bing,
Yes.
bing, bing.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, how do you think anything happened before electricity? Anything.
I mean, you had the old saws, I guess, but that's not a drill.
You think the first time anybody drilled into anything was when we had
Black and
electric?
Decker.
That they had to have a power cord?
I'm going to do a little more research on
Yeah,
this.
please
Do
do.
some research,
Yeah, please.
not more research. Do
Also,
initial research.
The man that spends 16 hours per NFL Sunday watching football dares ask, when did anybody have the time? Well, they weren't doing that.
Well, I assume their commutes to work were longer. They'd horse and buggy.
There was no commute. They worked on their own property. That was the work.
So they were working from home before it was a thing.
That's right. They were either blacksmiths or iron workers or farmers or tailors or their commute between their commute, horse and buggy, and watching all of the football. How do they possibly have
I
time?
didn't say there was football. All I'm telling you is the pancake was a non-existent item.
Except in 600 BC.
It's just. Oh.
Honestly, that segment could be the year of the buffoon. We can just play that with the music.
Oh, my goodness.
That was 7 different, terrible, inaccurate takes.
I have 7 circles on my sheet.
Oh, my God. Mraz is taking so much shrapnel right now on Twitter. It's scary. It really is terrifying. Upside Down Mike is in all caps. Why is the flat top the level of demarcation? Your stove is an open flame, so there's always been fire. You absolute idiot. You're so lost, I'm ashamed to have went to the same school as you. Dixieland Dan, pancakes were invented in Greece in 600 BC. The damn cavemen being around in 1000 BC is just absurd. They were tens of thousands, even hundreds of thousands of years ago. I mean, Mraz, oh my goodness. Jake tweets, dude, I cook pancakes one at a time. I'm not a Denny's. Mraz has lost it. He's trash. Read a book, bro. Your daughter will hear these takes one day. Have respect for your bloodline. Todd tweets me an actual picture of a cast iron stove in his kitchen from the 1800s. Mraz is convinced we only started making pancakes in the 1930s because who had a skillet?
I think that guy needs to go to Home and Decor. Why does he still have one of those?
Big Larry tweets, I bet Jesus was pissed that just one day later they got air conditioning. That sucks.
Thanks, Dad.
And again, Big Larry. Oh, that was Big Larry. When Chuck says Mraz not knowing the history of a food is the low point of his career, it's true because Mraz has built his credibility on knowing the exact years of the peaks of every condiment. And now to think that pancakes were created in the 1930s and that maple syrup, who would ever have maple syrup before Mrs. Buttersworth?
Yeah, I think we're learning that Sean's a victim of now. He can tell you when ranch dressing was popular, but if anything happened before he was conscious,
Yeah.
he's got nothing on it.
So before 2019, you can't.
Can I ask you something? Seriously, I'm not even trying to make a joke. When did they start putting in blueberries and chocolate chips in them? That you can't tell me that was earlier than 1930.
Okay, but let's just say for argument's sake, because who knows when they started making chocolate chip pancakes. Why would you think that they didn't have pancakes in general before they started putting blueberries in them?
Because I make the box of pancakes and I see how detailed that powder is, and I don't understand how the technology would have been prevalent to do that.
To make milled grain?
Okay,
I don't know what it is.
How do you
Shawnee?
There's no factories.
But, well,
I
when do
understand
you think factories started?
during the Industrial Revolution.
Which was?
1974.
I don't know when interchangeable parts happened.
Okay, you're walking around it. You're close. And when do you think that happened?
1826.
Okay, yes. So in 1826, they could ground wheat into a powder or flour into a powder.
True, but again, I don't think that even if a pancake was popularized, you're not feeding your family full of pancakes.
But again, one of your flawed pieces of logic
And they were not
here
as good as they are now.
is that the box of pancake mix that you're getting now.
Yeah, I get the complete one, just add
Right.
water.
So that is a modern convenience. They have done all the work for you. Put it all in a box in a powder you throw water on. That's not how pancakes are made. Normally, you'd put all of the things separately together, but they've just done it for you.
I was under the impression that basically before we signed the Declaration of Independence, it was a lot
You were
of
under this impression.
like a lot
Connected
of
to pancakes.
Continue this.
You got a chicken, you skin it, you make it over flame, hot dogs, that kind of deal. And that's how you fed yourself.
Hot dogs, random.
So Nathan's 300 years old.
Okay.
Pancakes were born yesterday.
But you're around the right idea before the Declaration of Independence, which was what year?
1776, like the Philadelphia 76ers.
Correct.
also was not a food document. We should point that out.
No,
We're
but
not
like we
declaring
became a country
independence
after we
from-
dumped the tea in the harbor in Boston.
Right. Okay. So you're around it. You're gathering steam here. But before this, you could still make the very basic ingredients for pancakes. You could be a farmer, pick the wheat, ground the wheat. You could then put it over a fire in an iron skillet. You could then tap into a maple syrup tree and have syrup if you so choose. These are not modern ideas. These are not modern
They're
ingredients.
not easy to do. So I like it probably feels like today when you go to somebody's house with a 75-inch TV, you're like, wow, you got money. Like I think if you were the house that was making a pancake back then, it's like, wow, you got patience, you know? And if that's the case, too, maybe pancakes did exist. Maybe I was off. But then I can tell you this, French toast and waffles certainly didn't because they had to be varied off of that.
Okay, let's do this now.
Do we even want to
No,
look at?
no, and I'm not asking you to waste
100%.
time on it. I'm not asking you to waste time on it, but
Well, French toast is probably thousands of years old as well. It's only a piece of bread with egg.
right, and France existed
Oh,
before us.
Right.
Waffle history. In ancient times, the Greeks cooked flat cakes called obelios between hot metal plates. So again, they're new. They're also
So
ancient
their
Greece.
plates were shaped with sticky points to make a waffle. You know what I mean? Like we didn't have waffle irons for a while.
But why
So
do you
probably the first
think
Howard Johnson.
Why do you think that the first waffle has to be the current waffle? Things develop and they change. They might have tasted terrible.
Because with all that separates a waffle from a pancake is the bumps.
and the ingredients.
Bumps.
No, we have the same mix.
A
It's the same
pancake is
thing.
not a waffle
Dude,
on the
it's
waffle
the
iron.
same thing.
You should read the box that you're so in love with right now, and there's actually
Why would
different
they sell
things to mix
waffle
into.
/ pancake mix if it's not the same mix?
Because you actually add more milk or water or an egg or not an egg, so it's not exactly the same thing. And again, that's you being lazy, or all of us being lazy by buying the box of mix.
And like the first car didn't have big gulp cups
Right.
for you.
Couldn't
Things
charge my
evolve
iPhone.
over time. The first waffle doesn't look like your waffle right now, and we can have waffles before the first Howard Johnson waffle maker.
This has not been a good day for me. It's been very
Really?
depressing in many ways because food should be right up my alley. I need to go back and do a little research because the life I've lived has been fraudulent.
We need to hire tape editors for today. That's how big of a day this has been.
JM tweets, we know now why they keep you around for the laughs. Buffoonery is the only reason why you get a paycheck, Mraz. I'm crying like Mraz did for the Giants after week 1.
Oh, my goodness.
Scooby Tunes tweets, Pancake Nation, you acknowledge me.
And like not even a speck of like hesitation after being embarrassed on your pancake timeline to go, well, I know that waffles and French toast are young things, and they're both wrong.
And
Let's not forget that Nathan started in 1776.
yeah, that was
As we
interesting.
declared our independence from bad food.